Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide and creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. You can't reach your goals on your own, you need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into the topic. And today I am super excited because we're talking about food and cooking. And in addition to everything I do with goals, I am also a food writer and food podcaster. And I host the Taste Buds with Deb podcast. And all of my guests today have been guests on Taste Buds. So today I get to bring them all together and we all get to geek out about food together. I mean, doesn't that just make for the absolute best day? I know I'm setting expectations really high. I'm also suggesting you get a snack because you will probably get hungry during the course of the conversation, or else you will. Trust me. Anyway, whether you're watching this as GoalChat Live or the replay, or you may be listening to us as the GoalChat podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network, we are glad you're here. And today, talking about food and cooking goals. And I have with me the amazing Chef Katie Chen, the wonderful Amy Jurist, and the fabulous Beth Lee. Can you tell how much I just adore my foodie friends? And like I said before, they've all been guests on Taste Buds, but far be it from me not to. This is how I hang out with my friends. I invite them on my shows. But before we dive in, everybody on this panel has something in common, which is they did something. They had whole career lives before, and actually in Katie's case, it was food, a whole life of a different career, and then back to food. So please introduce yourself and just give a little bit of your background, and let us start with you, Katie. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me today, Deb. And so thrilled to be meeting sort of in person my fellow panelists today. I'll try to keep this short, but my mother was a very famous chef and restaurateur in Minneapolis, where I was born and raised. She was an immigrant making 50 cents an hour as a seamstress, and always loved to cook. And by a crazy turn of events, Sean Connery invested in her first restaurant. General Mills bought her company. She bought it back. She grew an empire of restaurants with over 50 locations. Again, starting as a seamstress, making 50 cents an hour, never even went to high school. So I grew up working in this tiny catering operation, our basement, gritting my teeth because everybody else was at the mall or ice skating. And I was like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Moved to LA, worked in the entertainment industry for 14 years doing film and TV marketing. And one day I'd forgotten how to cook, kept calling my mom, asking her questions. She was so frustrated with me. She showed up on my doorstep with frozen lemon chicken and cooked the whole meal and let everyone think I had cooked it. And that that one experience started to reignite my passion for cooking and food. And we started cooking together, and I ended up leaving my job as a senior VP at Fox and leaving my then husband. And then she and I embarked on this incredible culinary journey. Unfortunately, she passed away about 15 years ago, but everything I do now is to honor her culinary legacy.
Wow. I mean, I loved it the last time I heard this story. It's really shows, and for you, it was nature, nurture, but it really, cooking is in your genes. You really couldn't help it. And you're just like a really great example of when that spark reignites, you just can't tamper it.
That's right. And, to this day, I still hear her voice when I'm cooking and criticizing me because she was a tiger mom. But, food is such an expression of love, particularly in Asian American cultures. So it was a way for us to really become bonded, become friends at a much later, stage in life. And it was a tremendous gift for me to have that time with her.
Amazing. Well, thank you. And glad you are here. Amy, you also have I've always loved to cook, but I didn't cook story.
I do. Thank you so much for having me again. It's nice to be here and nice to meet you guys in virtual land. Yes, I had a similar background. I was I started cooking when I was 5 years old, cooking for my parents, and both my parents were great cooks. And then I went into advertising. I was a vice president at Fox also.
Oh.
yeah, at FX actually, and in advertising and marketing. Worked in ad agencies and television networks for 20 years before I switched careers at 40 and decided to finally follow my passion for cooking. And I call it the itchy scratchy. Like, people were always like, you should do something with this. You should do something with this. And opening a restaurant was not something that I was interested in at all, because I would have cried the whole time when I got yelled at. So I opened my own catering business and started doing these underground dinners and kind of moved. From there, I've had my catering business for 20 years. I love it. I love the immediacy of it and making something that people get to eat right away, rather than an ad that gets made three months in advance, and maybe people watch the crappy TV show. And so Katie might be able to relate to that. Um, and but the advertising background was essential for, has been essential for the success and marketing of my own business. So I love it. I love what I do. I love making pretty food and delicious, yummy, decadent food. So that's what I do.
Awesome. Well, glad you are here. Thank you. And I knew you all were similar. I didn't realize you were that similar. Let's see how Beth fits in to this. I love food more than what I was doing for my job, so I went to it story. Beth, welcome.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me, Deb. And it's great to meet you, Katie and Amy. This is a great way to end my day, hanging out with you guys. I like to say that in 2010, I realized that I like pita chips way more than memory chips and computer chips. And I just kind of said goodbye to my high-tech marketing career that I had, built so lovingly all those years, working on the client side of the business and ad agency side of the business, big companies, small companies, startups. Then I started my own marketing consulting company. But as I said, in 2010, we were really how it started. There was no plan. There were no goals. There was nothing at that time except that my son said, you really love writing about food, talking about food. Why don't you just start a blog? And so I did. We looked up all kinds of names. omgyummy.com was available. And we always would say, when we were sitting around eating food with people, they would take a bite of something that got them really excited and inspired. And they'd say, my God, this is yummy, or, oh my God, yummy. And that's what I love about food, is that it inspires me. And then I feel like that inspiration can, I can convey that to other people. So I started my food blog, and then I think I went to like a blogging conference and learned something about social media. And then that was kind of all like that. That was it. I was hooked. I remember meeting Dory Greenspan in 2010, and she's a very well-known cookbook author and baker and an amazing human being. And I thought, with the way she talked to me and greeted me, if this is what the food world is all about, I'm in. So I just kind of dove ahead and when I first started writing my blog, I would just pick my topic by what I was excited about, because I thought if I was excited about it, I could make other people excited about it. And then I just kept going, and now I'm a cookbook author and working on my second one. And I like to call my blog my multicultural Jewish kitchen, because my husband's background is that his parents are from Hawaii, but his grandparents are from Korea. And my background is Polish, Russian, and Jewish. So we have a lot going on in our house, and it's really important to me to pass on all of that and to pass it on to other people. The world is made up of this really rich, multicultural kind of families, and that's the way the world, in my opinion, kind of naturally is. So you'll find all kinds of stuff on my blog. I'm not a niche down kind of person, even though my marketing background tells me I should. I try to be authentic, and authentic for me is that I like to cook everything, and our family is not niched down, so neither am I. And I love what I do now. Absolutely love it.
My husband's Jewish, so we probably both celebrate Christmas.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, and I noticed looking at the calendar the other day that this year Hanukkah starts on Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's pretty late.
Yeah, everything's super late this year. Everything is all the Jewish holidays are super late this year. It's so like mind bending.
Always fun to throw as many food types together as possible, and I'm with you on the whole. People ask me all the time, okay, Deb, you're a goal strategist. Who do you help? And you're not supposed to say everyone, but everyone, right? Because everybody, if you're tuning in, you either love food or you have goals or you want to have better goals or you just want some plain old inspiration and motivation. And sometimes that means it's everything. And the best thing to do when that happens is embrace everything. And I'm going to make you play favorites before we talk a little bit more specifically, but what is your favorite food to eat and what is your favorite food to make? Amy, do you want to start us out?
Sure. I love potato pancakes and Chinese food. Like not together, but those are like my two like desert island. Like I just when I'm like driving around a city and trying to find something to eat, I'm like, let me find a Chinese restaurant that has, because I like the variety of lots of different things and being able to eat a variety of stuff. And so that's, I would say that, and then potato pancakes are just amazing, and they deserve, like I said before, they deserve to live outside of Hanukkah and should be able to run across all months and be served all the time.
Agreed.
Crispy things. I love crispy things. So.
Well, and I think you just stepped into what Chef Katie does all the time. Isn't your life just one big Chinese food potato pancake
extravaganza?
Right?
I mean, we do make potato pancakes, obviously, for high holidays and so forth. But, we are like Beth in a multicultural home here. My catering business is called Wok Star Catering, and I specialize in modern Asian cuisine. I will say my favorite thing to cook is Chinese food because it's just so comforting to me, reminds me of home, reminds me of my family, my mother. Again, the expression of love. I like to tell people, when I came home with all A's, I get a whole fish and black bean sauce. When I came home with all B's, I got pork chow mein. There's so much power in the messaging of what's served as well. But I think like what I really love making all the time is dumplings, even though I have to do it for my job a lot. But it's just first of all, it's very meditative.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a Zen-like quality. And it's just something that one of my fondest memories of growing up was making dumplings with my mom. And now I, make them with my kids.
Ah, that's amazing. Beth, favorite?
I have to say, for eating, I mean, I've been asked this question a lot. It's really hard for me to pick one food or one cuisine. But if I had to pick one type of food, I would probably say dumplings, because every cuisine has one, and they really are the most wonderful thing to bite into. And if you go to my Instagram, it says I'm a Jew who makes mandu. So I actually have a recipe that I haven't posted on my blog yet, but I created for what our Bay Area Jewish food group called a Jew Asian event. And I actually called it Jew Mandu because it brings together all of the aspects of my family's background into one dish. But I love biting into a dumpling. The texture of the wrapper, the different, kinds of textures you can bring into the inside, and then dipping it in a dipping sauce. I really love the chojung sauce that I make, but there's so many choices. I mean, all of that bite in your mouth is, for me, that's about as good as it gets. So for eating, if you're making me pick one, I would say various types of dumplings. That's about as specific as I'm willing to get. As far as cooking, that's also really, really hard for me to pick one. But I would say that I've become really fond of baking. My first book is the Essential Jewish Baking Cookbook. And the reason I would say that I really love baking is there is that love and connection that seems to be so related to baking recipes. Like the Bubby's challah in my book is my close approximation to my grandmother and her recipe. And she was the baking skipped a generation in my family, so I feel like I got it from her. And so just like making her challah and just the look you get on people's faces when they smell the baking, the the smells coming out of the oven, and or you put a loaf of challah or a cookie or a cake in front of someone, people just love it. So I would say baking is really kind of, if I love it. And I didn't start that way. One of my first blog posts was that I'm dough-phobic. So all of this has happened because I came into the food world and allowed myself to learn and take risks and just get in the kitchen and try it. So it's proof positive that you can do things that you don't think you can do, even when it's your second career.
Well, and people who've tuned into Taste Buds know this. And some people who watch GoalChat know that I am a reformed non-cook. So the fact that I love cooking so much now, when I used to think it took so much time and energy, and then I realized that there's so many benefits to the process of cooking or baking or whatever. I love it because you can't be on your phone and cook and really get the whole vibe of the experience. And it's really life-changing. Well, what can I say? I am now a food writer and food podcaster. So clearly you can teach an old Deb how to cook. What do you find though is, and Beth touched on it a little bit, Katie, what do you feel is the biggest benefit to cooking for you as a person, not just as you?
I think it can be very therapeutic, like we talked about, because you have to be focusing on what you're making versus being on your phone. I mean, I do, binge Netflix while I cook, especially when I'm like prepping for catering. But it's, I think, time for myself. It can be very healing. What you're putting into your body. It's obviously far more economical than going out to eat because you know exactly what's going into the dish and what you're consuming. You're less likely to eat as much because you're not sitting in a restaurant where they're giving you like double-sized portions. Mm-hmm. I'm also the culinary ambassador for the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. So both of my parents passed away due to cancer. So it's also really important for me to educate my kids. I had them cooking with me at a very young age because I think people don't really give their kids credit. They're like, if you involve them in the process and they're invested in the process and helping to pick out the recipes and the ingredients, they're going to try it. They're going to try what they make. Mm-hmm. So for all those reasons, I think, and it's fun. And also like making sushi. I teach a lot of virtual sushi classes and virtual dumpling classes. I'm like, this is the best way to entertain because you invite all your friends over and they're like, oh, cool, we get to make dumplings. You show them out and they do all the work. It's amazing.
I love it. So it's a win for everybody. And it's DIY, the best activity ever. Because then you get to eat, which is the other reason I love cooking. It's when I got the Instant Pot and realized you could put in ingredients and then do something and then you get rewarded with food. I mean, what better reason other than, the whole healthy meditative thing, right? You get that food. And yes, we warned you, this episode will make you hungry. If you're watching the replay, feel free to pause and get a snack. While we ask Amy, what is it that you love about the process of cooking?
I guess for me, I love just making, let's see, my specialty is kind of appetizers. I mean, we do everything, obviously, the dreaded everything. I specialize in Asian. I do kind of specialize in Asian food. I mean, I do a lot of Asian parties and a lot of Korean food also for some reason. I'm not sure how that happened. But I love making things that are like crunchy and salty and creamy and sweet, like all in one little delicious little bite of food. And I feel like Asian food kind of lends itself to that more so than any kind of other sort of ethnic type of food. especially the crispy stuff. But I just kind of love the whole process of creating something that's beautiful, that excites people, and, visually, and, with what they're eating as well. I kind of call my style yummy decadence. And I think, it's not prissy and fussy, but it's, beautifully presented, but it's approachable, and, doesn't make, people, don't feel like it's too little, too petite, too precious for them, so I don't know. I don't think that answered your question, but it's like, but yeah. So just like, I just love making, it just makes me happy. It's just fun. And, I was thinking over the weekend, over this last week, I've made so many things. Both my parents passed away over 30 years ago. And I realized that I made like 4 different things that I used to make with them, or they used, like, my favorite things that they used to make. My dad's spaghetti sauce. My mom made this weird mishmash thing with hamburger meat and onions, and like totally weird, like no one else will like it. Like we all have those things, I think, that, everyone is like, what? Please don't make that for me. But it's like I'll eat it for like 5 days in a row because it's so good. Like I had some brisket that my dad used to make. So it's well, you were saying, Katie, about, cooking with your kids. I don't have kids, but I have such fond memories of, these meals that my parents, taught me how to make, and that I still get excited and very nostalgic when I make them and have them, and, so.
The food is, we've decided, it is fun, or cooking is fun, it's meditative, but it is also that connection to memory that I think we all share. One of the things that you're talking about, you like it decadent but approachable. So what can people do? I mean, people who, like I used to be, who would say, oh, yeah, cooking sounds good, but isn't it much easier to order? The answer now and forever is like, no. What advice do you have for people so they can embrace cooking for the joy that it can be? Katie?
Good.
Amy, you want to start?
No, Katie, go ahead.
I think, if you're intimidated by cooking and you don't find joy in it because you're stressed, because it's stressing you out. Most of the friends I have that are like, freaks me out. I don't know how to do it. They're perfectionists. They don't have the right equipment. I think, you just start very simply. You can, in fact, look in your fridge and enter in 5 ingredients that are in your fridge in Google, and a recipe will pop up containing those ingredients. My friend Katie Workman taught me that. So I think you start really small, just with a simple recipe, not with 500 ingredients. I think that's another thing that really intimidates people. Or what's, your favorite Thai dish that you order at your favorite Thai joint? Focus on that one dish. Again, not with 5 million ingredients. YouTube is a fantastic friend to all of us. There's really no excuses now, because I think, you can find comfort in knowing, I can watch this person actually going through the steps. Yeah. And then you make it. It might not be perfect the first time, but you conquer it, and then you're empowered. And then once you continue doing that and you feel more empowered, that's when you start to have the freedom to improvise and to be creative.
I think actually also, I totally agree with that, but also taking cooking classes. I mean, I'm a professional chef. I've gone to culinary school, gone to pastry school, but I still take one-off classes all the time. Especially for, like, I've taken 4 caramel classes because I love caramel. I've taken marshmallow classes. I love taking those very specific single classes. You can start with if you love fish, take a fish class. There's a couple really good culinary schools in Los Angeles. You can take vocational classes, and it's less intimidating when there's, 20 other people or 10 other people around you that don't know either. I get intimidated in cooking classes, and I've been cooking forever. Because I get embarrassed and like, oh my God, what if mine doesn't turn out as good as someone else's? It's so silly. But it's like everything else. You just have to learn that no one's watching you. Nobody cares. You can make a mistake. It doesn't matter. You're just there to have a good time and learn something, I've taken I just love taking classes.
And I think as chefs, we're always learning. We're always students.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was studying something today for a recipe I'm working on. Yeah, there's always something new to do.
Like my mother, even when she was in her 70s, we'd go to a French restaurant and she would taste something like a sauce, and she was like a culinary savant. Like she could just figure it out. But then we'd have to go home and try it right away. And we'd stop at the store because it was like, it was a puzzle for her that she had to solve. So I think that's great.
Oh, I love that story. And I can imagine. And sometimes you don't want, if you're eating at a restaurant, you don't want to finish because you want to have the leftovers because it tasted so good.
Oh.
But if you're with a culinary savant like Katie's mom was, you get to eat it like twice in a row because now do you do actual culinary mysteries? Has that skill been transferred down to you?
No, I have to try a lot harder. I mean, she would just like taste it and go, it's this, and that. Now let's go try it. It would probably take me like 3 or 4 additional tries. So she's always seemed to get it on that one try, except for the crustacean garlic noodles, which we figured out the secret ingredient is that seasoning, Maggi, that's loaded with MSG.
Uh-huh.
But it's filled with umami. So it's like, and there's a little Parmesan cheese. So it's like, what? You wouldn't guess that off the bat.
Right.
But unfortunately, I didn't inherit that skill.
But you inherited the desire, though, to figure out recipes after you tasted them.
Absolutely. Because, I think especially as caterers, we're always right on the hunt to really stretch the boundaries of what we're doing, to offer our clients more creative choices. And it's just more fulfilling that way too, because who wants to make the same things over and over and over again?
Well, it's very easy, I think, for home cooks to get bored. There's a reason they get bored. It's because they're not trying new things, right?
Right.
Well, I think the last time we talked, Deb, you had asked me something along this line about getting started, or one thing to kind of invigorate you in the kitchen, and just go get one new ingredient that you have never tried before. And it could launch you into a whole different, motivation or different path with even just the ingredients you normally have. Like I got interested in Middle Eastern ingredients because I went out to a restaurant one night and tasted za'atar for the first time. And I literally almost tackled the waiter to find out what it was. But that's why I'm like an expert in Middle Eastern ingredients and cuisines now, because that ingredient inspired me so much. I'd never tasted anything like it. And the same thing can happen to a home cook. I mean, go buy za'atar or go to the local Indian market and pick up something there, or kalanji, and start putting it on the top of your bread instead of something else. And that can take you down a path and just reinvigorate your taste buds. I think that's another easy thing to do.
I had Eitan Bernath was on Taste Buds as well, and he was obsessed with chili crisp, and now I am obsessed with chili crisp. I have never been obsessed with a condiment before as much as I have with this, because it works with everything. It's the silliest thing, but it makes me feel good that I discovered the secret ingredient that makes everything taste OMG yummy. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Do you all have foods that are on your cooking bucket list, something that you want to make but you have not yet been able to conquer? Either I stumped you, or you all can make everything you want because you're perfect.
I want to roast a whole Hawaiian pig in my front yard and dig a hole. Somebody asked me to do that for a wedding, and I was like, no, thank you. Leave it to the professionals. But I think something like is just so theatrical and dramatic would just be really fun to do. But it's been on my list for like 20 years, so I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it.
I have a cousin in Texas who roasts whole pigs for big gala extravaganzas. So if you're ever in Texas, I will hook you up.
Okay. It's a deal.
Or we can go to Hawaii and do it, Katie.
Even better. Let's do it.
Okay, field trip. GoalChat field trip. Let's go to Hawaii and roast a pig.
Yes. Yep, my husband still has family there.
Awesome.
Excellent. Okay, you're in charge of the planning. What is on your foodie cooking bucket list, Beth?
Wow, that list is long, but I would say there's an area that my husband and I both haven't really done much with, which is smoking things. And we decided when we either redo our backyard here or our next house, which is the more likely scenario, we really want to get a smoker, because I'm like the brisket queen in our family now, and I can braise like brisket like with my eyes shut, and it's great. But I think I want to conquer like smoking a brisket and beyond. I mean, you can do so much more with it, but I've not really explored what I could do with smoking in my, repertoire. So I would say, I mean, there's more than that, but in like a realistic, like, what do I need to, what would I like to learn, and what is a technique I'm not using much these days? I would say smoking and a smoker. That sounds bad.
Nice. I like that. And Amy, what is on your cooking bucket list?
I would say that I haven't really explored molecular gastronomy very much. I've asked my family, whenever they ask me what to get me for any, I always say, cooking stuff. I have the little thing to make the little beads. I don't know what that, I can't remember what I'm right now. I'm thinking the little, little beads. What are they? Like the little roe, basically caviar, out of random things. And
Right.
I got the little tool for it, and I just have not. We tried it once, and it didn't work, and I just kind of abandoned ship. There's not a lot of cooking classes for that area of foodieism. So that sort of hasn't been something that but that's on my list of, some things, really understanding the different chemicals and how to sort of adjust the texture of some foods. We did one where we used meat glue I used to do all these bacon dinners, like these 10-course bacon dinners, underground dinners. And for one of them, I made scallops, and I rolled bacon and I sliced it really thin, and then I glued them to the sides of the scallop. And it was super cool. And it was really interesting and kind of fun. That was really the only successful molecular gastronomy adventure that I've had. But, I would say that that's kind of on my list of things to explore.
So you all play with food for a living, which is kind of fun. And so I just asked you, what's good for getting started? What is good for leveling up? So for anyone who is tuning in, they're good, but maybe they're bored, maybe they need to be more challenged. What is something fun, but also feasible that people can step out of their comfort zone to create?
Well, I mean, I think, do you want like what should they do, or like something extremely specific? Like, I think there's two things for leveling up, which I think Amy already brought it up, is take a class, take a hands-on class, and pick a cuisine or a type of food that maybe you don't feel comfortable on your own, and get into this group, but again, hands-on, and you'll walk away from there just like with that confidence you need to go try it at home. or pick a cuisine you haven't tackled. Because like we used to be, maybe even get in like a little gourmet, well, or cooking club. We used to have a cooking group in our neighborhood for couples. It was the most amazing thing. And this was long before I got into the food business, but it was a way we would pick a theme and, you pick a theme like Indian cuisine, whatever, some kind of different cuisine. And then when you're tackling it, maybe only one of the courses, and just really delve into it and take the time to get to know the ingredients and the techniques and what's different about it. And then you get to try the other couples, whatever they came up with. It just, again, it's a way to try something without having to just completely, maybe commit on your own, or and you get a dinner out of it, or you get a cooking class out of it. So yeah, I teach at this one cooking school where we cook together, but then we sit down to a meal together at the end, and it's just lovely. It's lovely as the student, and it's lovely for the assistants, and it's lovely for the teacher. It's really a great thing to do. Highly recommend.
And you can do it from the comfort of your home, like sign up for a masterclass and take Gordon Ramsay's masterclass, where you can really learn fundamentals. So you have those building blocks, again, to gain the confidence and be able to improvise, or get a sous vide machine. That definitely will level up your skill, because they're very economical now. And it's really like for dummies, like you can't really screw it up, but then the results are so incredible. And it's not like, oh my God, I have to cook for 20 people. I mean, you could easily just throw a couple of chicken breasts in the sous vide for 1 or 2 people. So that would be my suggestion.
Great idea.
I would say, I think one thing a lot of people feel like they know how to cook or they can make good food, but they don't know how to make it look good. And, just presentation of the food that you're making can make a huge difference. And there's some really amazing plating books that I look at, especially when I was trying to go from just making really good food to making it like beautiful, and just like clever little tricks and things. Instead of, I see so many people's, we all have a lot of Facebook friends or Instagram friends, and you see their food and you're like all you had to do was like slide this over, and I'd be happy to send you a couple of these, names of some of these books for your audience. It can really, they're simple things. I mean, simple, like little techniques and things like that, sometimes they don't teach you in classes, or they don't, you don't really learn it in culinary school. I mean, you learn some of it, but it's the finessing of how to make your food look even sexier than it is,
It's very true.
I don't know if I told you this, but part of what got me into cooking, the Instant Pot story was part of it, but the other real part is because I was always fascinated with plating. When I was a kid, that was my job, to put all the crackers on the tray, or the vegetables or whatever. And then I decided that, okay, I want to play with plating, but you have to cook, so you have something to plate. So that was the 1-2
They kind of go together. Yeah.
Plating in my head, and then the Instant Pot. Because it's always fun when your food should look good, but the more fun the food, the more appealing. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you'll get the replay and the recap. And if you want to send me some books to put in, that would be great. And typically I will put all of my guests' LinkedIn and their websites, but given it's food, I will also be putting in your Instagrams, because isn't that where all the pretty inspiration comes from?
Yeah. I agree.
And speaking of inspiration, so where does your inspiration come from when you're creating? Haiti?
Everywhere, travel, all the amazing ethnic enclaves in Los Angeles. It's such an exciting food scene. So, I try to get, I have twin 16-year-olds, so I don't go out as much as I would like, but dining out other friends, ethnic friends, their mothers, their grandmothers, ethnic markets, you know, YouTube, magazines. I'm always just, I feel like I'm constantly surrounded by food. So I just try to pay attention, right? And then also, like, that said, like, oh, that's such an interesting ingredient. Like, pick it up, take it home, have some fun with it that day, see what happens.
Love that. And so, Beth, you like all the different foods too. So, where's your inspiration?
Well, everything Katie said, because we like when we travel, this is part of how I realized I needed to get into the food business. We would plan all of our food stops and then fit the tourist stuff and sightseeing in between. And then, that was kind of like, okay, take a clue here, like what's important to you. So definitely travel. Like last summer for a big birthday, I went to the south of France without my family, with a friend, and did like a curated food kind of tour. And then my family met me, we went to Italy, and we've come back. We've been making a lot more pasta because we took this amazing cooking class that was really one-on-one with these two incredible chefs. And from the south of France, like I went to an event recently for a new cookbook called Niçoise, and that's because of what I was introduced to there. So travel for sure. It opened up my mind to all kinds of dishes that I had never made before. My family heritage is, I'll put a yes at the end of that. I'm very motivated by the pile of super old recipes from Doug's Hawaiian family, and working my way through that. I'm very motivated by, when I wrote the book, I was raised as an Ashkenazi Jew, but there's so much more food in the Jewish diaspora than Ashkenazi food. And my baking book has a lot of Sephardic recipes in it and Mizrahi recipes. So I had to get to know people, my friends' families that are Sephardic, and learn all of that. So that's super inspiring to me to get to know the rest of the Jewish diaspora. Anytime you go out to dinner, it's everywhere, or just when somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I won't make it up, but I'll go find out. And then, that takes you down a path. So, you never know what's going to inspire you. And I try to pay attention to that when I feel that spark.
Well, inspiration, it doesn't matter what field you're in. I am completely with you. Inspiration is everywhere. You just need to open your eyes and your ears, or if it's food, your nose, and see what's around you and what appeals to you and what you are drawn to.
Mm.
For sure. Amy, what about you? Where's your inspiration come from?
I would say that we kind of talked about this in the other one that we did, but it definitely comes from my dad's love of whimsical art, very colorful art. The toys that he used to buy me, when I look at the food that I make and my, it's very derivative and driven from that sort of whimsical, colorful, a little, some people had like building blocks, but I had these like clear, multicolored things that fit together. My dad collected mobiles and stabiles that moved, that kind of made you smile. And my food is very much like that. When I look at my Instagram feed, it's like I can see every toy that my dad bought me, and just his love of modern, non-representational art, and so I feel like for me that's really just, I like things that make you smile, and the way I present stuff is kind of different and unique and friendly, so definitely that is, aside from the food and sort of what you guys both said, it's that for me from a visual standpoint. So, and I remember just hating that my mom used to tell me the name of every stupid flower in her garden. We weren't that close. I didn't care. But now I love that I know the names of all the flowers because we use so many flowers. I love flowers. And that's sort of, something that I'm, trying to get more into. So.
So it's again another common theme is your history, your upbringing, the things around you are all infused into how you became you and what it is you do when you love to cook. And I talk a lot about the whole balance thing, but what do you do for balance when the thing that you do is cooking, which most people think is the life part of the balance. So what are some of the other things that you do that you are just as passionate about as food? Beth, you wanna jump in?
Oh,
Katie's smiling because she knows that she inspired this question, but we'll go to you last. So Beth,
well, little known fact about me, I'm a really good golfer. And I don't golf very much anymore, speaking to that balance thing. But that's okay because I'm happy with what I am spending my time on these days. But I love being outdoors and, uh, walking the course and having to concentrate the way you have to concentrate in order to actually succeed in golf. And it gives me a great, it's sort of Zen like and very independent. It helps me focus and be confident, and also made me realize how competitive I am, as my husband will remind me. So I'm pretty passionate about golf, but I don't know if it's providing balance for me because I'm not doing a whole lot of it these days. I love travel, and I love like being with people and going to events and socializing. I'm the more extrovert of the family, so I guess that's some of what provides my balance. But I could talk about food and eat food and cook food and read about food and write about food 24 hours a day. Just saying.
well, it sounds to me like some of the qualities you love about golfing are some of the qualities that are really important for a chef.
I mean, actually, I kind of think so. I mean, there is that confidence, like when I go to the refrigerator and I have no idea what I'm going to cook, and I just take a few things out and feel like I can turn that into dinner. And that's kind of what golf is, even on the best day. I mean, I'm not a pro, so I'm constantly in trouble and having to figure my way out of stuff. And there's a lot of things. You just have to, yeah. I think confidence and focus, confidence and focus.
Amy, what do you do when you're not busy cooking and creating and being whimsical around food?
I'm shopping. I will spend hours looking for some new vessel or some new strange way, some new platter. I'll spend hours looking for a scalloped metal tray, and then when you find the right one, it's like so magical. I'm so embarrassed. I do this all the time. I mean, I just literally will find, or even I'll have had some fun crunchy. There's like Arari cracker top sushi that Chef Jet used to use in this lobster roll in Vegas that I had, and I've been constantly looking for the right ones that don't have the weird coating on the outside, and that will send me down this path for hours looking for a way to buy it where I don't have to buy 85 pounds of it, but looking for specific ingredients or just going to stores like ethnic markets and walking around. I love marketing. I love that whole process of walking through the store and going both ways. You got to go both ways because you might miss something when you just go one way. And home goods is another problem child I have.
Yeah.
So yeah, as a childless, partnerless person, shopping is my thing.
It's a sport.
It is a sport.
And you look at it with as much dedication as you do to your food because it's part of that creation process, which is And Katie, what takes up your time when you're not busy making dumplings and other yummy food?
Well, I really love singing, and I been accused of being a karaoke freak. But my husband and I formed a band during COVID called Never Too Late, which is a theme for all of us, right? If not now, then when? And so we have a performance coming up in August. We've never been paid. We're actually like, we'll pay you if you'll let us perform. But it's really just more for fun. And I think for me, I find joy in it, but also when I'm singing, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not thinking about, oh, that invoice I have to send out, or, the 2,000 pounds of gochujang paste I need to find. I'm like focusing on the singing part of it. So I would say I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of free time, especially with the teenagers and everything. But it's very important to find that time and make that time, because even though we're also passionate about what we do, it's easy to get burned out. And also, I mean, especially in catering, it's very physical as well. It's exhausting. So it's important that we find those moments and outlets to recharge, for sure.
And that was not the answer I expected from you.
Oh,
so I
really?
learned something. Yeah, I was sure you were going to talk about your one-woman show.
Oh, well, there's that too. I get bored easily.
But doesn't it all serve that whole creative expression, whether it is shopping or golfing or singing or creating? They all serve each other and they all feed off of each other to create even better products.
Well, and you guys may feel the same way, but when I was trapped in my executive career, I just felt like something was missing, and it was like bursting to come out. And really, being a chef or a cookbook author, caterer, what have you, we're really artists. So I feel like I finally tapped into who I'm supposed to be. And so I feel like, I'm expanding that into other areas of my life, because I wrote a one-woman show called Holy Shiitake, A Wok Star is Born. And so it's a whole new challenge, which has been terrifying, but super rewarding and fulfilling. But I do actually cook in the play.
Of course you do.
Except for when the fuse blew.
I'm sure that was fun. But the way my panels come together, it just happened that I met these three amazing women who, by the way, had other careers before they really went with their passion and really went head first into this love of cooking and sharing that food with others. It's so important. And you're all great examples of, it's never too late to do a U-turn. And the reason whether you set specific goals or whether it's just the intent to have a better, more fulfilled life, it starts with that decision. Okay, what really brings me joy, and how can I do more of that and less of the things that bring me angst? And that's really what living a happy, fulfilled life is all about. Yes?
Agree.
Absolutely. I mean, I can give you a really quick example. When I was already full into this, the food stuff, and was working really at the time really hard on my blog, and in a old somebody I used to work with from my former career called me, oh, please, please come and help me at this startup. Please, please, please. We only need you, 5 to 10 hours a week. Please, please, please. And of course it was, a Silicon Valley deal. I mean, they paid a lot and blah, blah, blah. So I said yes, because I loved working with this woman. And so I was doing this 5 to 10 hours a week on that while I was doing my food stuff. And what I could tell at the end of every day is the food stuff filled me up, filled me with energy, and it kept me going. The other stuff, I was really good at it. I mean, immediately they wanted to hire me for more hours, blah, blah, blah. But that drained me. When I was done with that, it drained me. So I think that's something people, it maybe took me a long time to realize it, but pay attention to that. What fills you up with joy and energy and makes you want to keep going, and what sucks that energy right out of you, even if you're good at it, but that was something that was like an epiphany for me.
It's great that you were able to identify that and still keep remaining true to this path.
Yep.
Oh, this has been so much fun. I love it when I get to talk about food. I mean, talk about left turns, GoalChat, Taste Buds with Deb. It's all about putting pieces of our project together and creating the life you want or creating the food you like. I love paralleling myself as a lesson. Before we wrap, I would love for you all to gift a goal to the audience. So what is something that they could do today, tomorrow, like immediately to feel either more fulfilled in their life or more fulfilled in their cooking or just more filled in their eating? So, Beth, what goal would you like to gift?
I would like to gift the goal, because we're heading into summer and the longest day of the year, the goal of inviting some people over, even if you are at that, oh my God, I don't cook stage or whatever, do it anyways, to have the experience of having people with you, even if what you do isn't all cooked at home, even if you just have them over for a cheese board and glass of wine. Invite people over, even if that's not what your comfort zone usually is, because it's that time of year. It will spur you on. Whatever thing you try to do, they're going to love it, and they're going to love it because you're all together enjoying each other's company and celebrating summer. So invite people over for something and do it. Even if it scares you, even if you don't think you're ready for it, just do it. You won't be sorry.
Even if, or especially because,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Because my mom was more of the, no, I'm not going to host that. And I've tried really hard to not be like that. And I've also tried really hard not to be a perfectionist, because in the end, people just love it when they get together, especially at this time of year. So I try really hard to fight that urge of, oh, I can't do that because I don't have time to plan, or I don't have time to cook, or whatever. I really try to fight that, or to really embrace last minute things. Like you see your neighbor outside and say, hey, you want to eat dinner together? And you figure it out. So I try to be the sort of the opposite of the way my mom was. And we're never sorry when we're gathered with people, whether it's just a glass of wine or a whole meal or a big group for a big holiday. It's always worth it.
Love that. Katie, what goal do you want to gift?
I would say choose 4 ethnic cuisines you've never had in your life, fold them up in little balls, put them in a bowl, and pick one and go to a restaurant this weekend trying that cuisine.
That's a great idea.
I love it.
Ooh,
Right? I mean,
It's
I've
the
never had
whole-
Ethiopian, and I'm like, drive up and down. Is it Fairfax where there's all those? And I'm like, I've lived here for 30 years. I can't believe I haven't not tried it one time.
Do it. It's so great picking up the injera and putting your hand down on the food, and it's wonderful. Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
Any goal that comes with randomness is awesome. And then
Rules of the
report back
game.
in the comments with what you ate and how it went. Amy, what goal are you gifting?
I would say if you're fidgeting in your current situation and you're not totally fulfilled, think about the things that really drive you, that you dream about, something that you daydream about at your job, that you really can make a change. I mean, I totally changed my career at 40, 20 years ago. That's how old I am. And just made a complete right turn. I would say left turn. Left turn's better, especially these days. I made a left turn and completely changed my career and followed my passion. And if you follow your passion, hopefully you can find a way to make a living at it. And it just comes so easy. I mean, it's like Katie said, it's a lot of work. It's very exhausting sometimes, catering, but it's so rewarding. And I can't believe that I completely just changed my life, completely. I loved my career before. I had a great jobs. But I also love what I'm doing so much more. So.
And so in theme with my mission and the mission of GoalChat, which is it's your life, it's your choice. If you are not happy, if you are not feeling fulfilled, give yourself permission, even if it's just like a little side thing. What can you do that you love that will bring more joy to your life, and do it in little pieces of time so you can build up something that's not only great for you, but great to share with the world, like food.
Right.
Always come back to that topic or the topic. What a wonderful conversation. Friends, where can people learn more about you and all that you do? Yeah, Haiti.
My social handles are at Chef Katie Chin. I have 2 websites, chefkatiechin.com as well as wokstarcatering.com.
Excellent. And Amy, where can people learn more about you?
I'm at Chef Amy J on Instagram, and you can always follow me on Facebook just under my name, Amy Jurist. I will always, usually, if you're a food person, I will always say yes. And then at amy'sculinaryadventures.com.
Fantastic. And Beth?
You can find me on my blog, which is omgyummy.com. And you can find me on pretty much all of the social channels as OMG Yummy. So I'm very active on Instagram. I'm very active on Facebook. I'm just a tiny bit active on TikTok. And I also have a group, if you love Middle Eastern cuisines and ingredients and Mediterranean ingredients, I have a very active Facebook group called Sumac and Sunshine. So you can also find me there. Yes.
And you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog to get all the links and some of the highlights and get the goals to work towards, because y'all now have wonderful, delicious, or fulfilling in other ways homework. And as I said before, I am at the Deb Method everywhere. And if you need a little extra inspiration, you can grab a copy of my book, Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals at your favorite place to buy books. And I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can also subscribe on iTunes and or your favorite other podcast platform. New episodes of GoalChat on the Marketing Podcast Network are released every Thursday. And if you need that dose of inspiration, motivation, whether it's food or otherwise, follow me, and that's what I'm all about. Your life, your choice. Do little things to bring that joy, and it could become big things. It could become your whole life, and wouldn't that be just amazing? Thank you again, friends. What final thought do you want to leave people with today? Beth, final thought?
Have no fear. Just get in the kitchen and create something delicious. It can be as simple as, toast with some butter and salt on it, but have no fear. Just get in the kitchen and cook.
Awesome. Amy?
I don't know. I have no final thought. I say just, enjoy the process. Don't be afraid. And, just, no one's going to judge you. Just do it for the fun of it, the cooking. So.
Excellent. And final thought to you, Chef Kitty.
This is just more about my life pivot that I told you about before, Deborah, but I saw a quote in O Magazine when I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. And it said, leap and the net will appear. And, what's the worst that could happen? And I think this applies to, cooking, even as a beginner or novice. Like, what's the worst that could really happen? You know what I mean? It might not turn out perfectly, but you did it. And then you'll try it again. So,
and we all learn stuff. I mean, we've all had that totally didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, so it happens to professionals, it'll happen to people that are just starting out too, I think, don't be afraid.
Exactly.
And there is the leap and the net will appear is something to live your life with abandon. If you know that you love something and you're not giving it enough attention, give it some attention. You will be happier, more fulfilled. And when I frequently talk, and that's why sometimes I do professional goals, sometimes I do personal goals that all work hand in hand. And when you have more joy in one part of your life, it's going to leak over to make everything better. And what is better than everything with a side of delicious food? Thank you again, Chef Katie Chen, Amy Jurist, Beth Lee, for joining me. Thank you for tuning in to GoalChat. You've chosen yourself. You've chosen your goals. We're glad you spent time with us today. So go on out there and go for it, because we know you can do it.